Hello and welcome back to NHB Retro. Today we're going to be continuing our series that we started in the previous video, where we are doing a tube swap to repair this lovely old Model 4 TRS-80, which I broke the picture tube on when I originally received it. So before I start doing that, just a couple of words about that. Working inside CRTs is something that's inherently dangerous. It has risks involved with it. If you don't know what those are or how to properly mitigate those, I would suggest that you not work inside of CRTs. It's something that I approach with a great deal of caution and respect. I'm not going to be showing things like how to discharge the CRT. If that is something that you are interested in learning how to do, I would strongly suggest watching some of the other videos on YouTube that show how to do that. That's something that I have already done and is necessary in order to safely work on a CRT. Okay, with all that said, let's take a look at exactly where we are starting out. And here is the view of the CRT. Of course, the connector for the back of the neck has already been disconnected by me by breaking it, so that's something. It looks like all we really need to do in order to get this tube out is going to be to disconnect. There's a connector down on the motherboard, on this little circuit board, rather, controller board, that connects to the CRT, the neck controller there. So that I need to disconnect that, and then it looks like I just have to drop 4 screws out and the CRT should be removable. So let's go ahead and do that. Alrighty, after some very careful prying and prodding, we have the CRT removed from the computer case. We have the control yoke removed from the neck. That one was nerve-wracking. It did just kind of come off. It was a tiny little bit stuck on there, but then it kind of just popped right off. And of course we have the rest of the control circuitry still mounted up in the computer. The neck board looks relatively undamaged, thank goodness. The only real damage that was done to this thing, it's going to be hard to see other than those bent up pins, and that is because in the very center of that neck there's a little teeny back piece of glass, which on one side is atmosphere, on the other side is the vacuum. So when I somehow snapped that off while disassembling the computer originally, it was horrifying to listen to that vacuum slowly being reoccupied by atmosphere. It took a disturbingly long amount of time and was very, I don't know, unsettling sound. It's one of those nothing you can do about it type of things. Anyway, there we have it. So now let's move on to talk about the replacement tube. Okay, so here we have the test setup for the replacement tube. Now this is actually the second tube that I will be trying. The first one proved to be incompatible in some way that I'm not familiar enough with CRTs to understand that, but nonetheless I was able to get this new old stock Dynatone television, black and white TV. I believe it's a 1990. At least that's what the tube says on it. And so I've extracted this tube from it. I've already actually done a test run on this. I got too excited when I got it home. Obviously I didn't film any sort of disassembly or anything of the television. And it does seem to work. It needs a lot of adjustment. So I'm going to reset up my test rig and try to get all the adjustment done as much as I can outside of the computer case, because it's very, I'll be working with the controls on the back of this board to do brightness and various picture controls. And when that's in the board, it's really hard to adjust those without, for me, having my hand uncomfortably close to the high voltages. So I will try to do it outside of the case, get it as good as I can, and then we'll transplant it into the case from there. So let's get it set up and see what's working and see where we have to go. Alrighty, we've got the new CRT all hooked up, ready to go. I've moved in for a close-up view. Apologies for the imperfect glare conditions, but let's at least turn this thing on and see what we got going on. Okay, computer coming on. Not plugged in. Un momento. All right. One more time. Computer coming on. Okay, computer is booting. I'm going to hold down brake and hit reset. Okay, and so we can see some stuff. Unfortunately, it looks rather garbled. I wonder if that's just rolled back on itself. Okay, so yeah, at this point we can see that we're getting the picture, but stuff is kind of rolled up a little bit. Let me see if I can get you a better picture of this. This might be hard to capture on camera, but yeah, that's what we're seeing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust. We've got a bunch of adjustments in the back here, and I've got a little plastic adjuster that I can actuate them with without doing any damage, hopefully. I'm going to try to adjust the, let's see, we've got horizontal phase, V-line, H-hold, V-size, and that might be it. Okay, so let me try. First one is this H-phase. That sounds possible. Apologies again, trying to do this in the dark for best monitor viewing. Okay, let's see what this does now. I'm just going to turn it ever so slightly. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. It was just rolled up. Okay, so that was the H phase. Look at that. It doesn't look too great on camera, but in person that actually looks pretty sharp and bright too. Now I have the internal brightness cranked on this, as well as the contrast, but that actually looks pretty good. Interesting. Okay, let me regroup a little bit and see where we need to go from here. Potentially this is we're doing pretty well. So now the time has come to put the CRT back into the case, and I'm discovering that the mounting ears, which the originals look like that, in order to fit this spacing, they need to look a little bit more like that. So I'm making use of a Dremel tool, a grinding bit on there. Knockoff Dremel tool, actually. And that seems to work pretty well. There seems to be plenty of meat on there. So I'm going to finish up these last two ears and hopefully get it back into the case. Incidentally, at the bottom of the case, we do have date of manufacturer. Pretty darn cool. Okay, so let's get on with the grinding and hopefully get that CRT put back in there. So now that the tube is working, the next challenge is going to be getting it to fit into the case. And the issue that I ran into wasn't one that I expected, though in retrospect I probably should have, and that's that the ears on the new tube are not compatibly placed with these the mounting studs on the inside of the TRS-80 case. They have to line up with those at least well enough to slide over them and get secured. So what I'm doing to address this is I tried modifying the old ears. They just ended up being a little bit too far off. So what I'm doing is I'm manufacturing new ears, as you can see, basically cutting them down from these large washers, which are the only ones I had. It was too big really to have started with. I should have basically ending up turning a lot of that into grinding dust. But I've already done one test fit with the ones that are most constrained are the two top ears, which are these two. And it looks like it's going to be fine. It looks like it's going to work really well. So I'm going to finish modding up the remaining ears, getting them fastened a little bit better on there. I'm going to use some Loctite. I might even try, yeah, I think Loctite, because they really are only held on by one screw now. I considered soldering them at one point, but yeah, I'm not sure how that would go. Yeah, I'll just finish getting the rest of the ears manufactured, and then we will get this mounted back in the case. Okay, so I've got the tube mounted back in the chassis again and all hooked up. That blue painter's tape on there was my attempt to keep the deflection yoke from getting bumped or twisted or moved, as it was fairly well aligned before. But anyway, now that we're all plugged back in, let's go ahead and make sure that our tube is still working, which I will do thusly by juggling the camera. Apologies for shaky cam. Okay, so I'm just going to turn on the computer. I'm going to hit break, reset, and we should, okay. Oh, okay, look at that. So yes, we do have a picture, and yes, the deflection yoke has clearly rotated a little bit, but the picture looks really nice and sharp. So I will go ahead and get that deflection yoke rotated. I'll tighten those screws up, and I think we'll be pretty close to actually putting this thing back together. Boy, it's been a long journey. Yeah, the first tube swap that I've ever done. Okay, well, let me bring you back when we have the thing mounted correctly and reassembled. Okay, an unexpected, somehow, problem has arisen. That probably some of you have noticed, and from this angle, seems kind of obvious. And that is that while I was making these new ears just the right size to fit, say, inside the case over here, I didn't really take into account that there's not that much space over here. And I kind of got a little bit lazy when I was doing these replacement ears. As I went on, obviously, they got what I considered to be a finished product got larger and larger. So I'm going to have to pay for that now by, unfortunately, removing these, which I had hoped to never do, and resizing them. So I'll let you know how that goes. I don't think there's much to film there. I'm just going to drill those screws out because they are red Loctited in, and then grind the ears down way more aggressively, regardless of how long it takes. So I'll bring you back when I have those resized. Okay, I've got the CRT back on the alignment stand that I created, and I've reworked the ears a bit. So a couple of them were overly big. Now they look more like what they should have looked like the first time. So it is probably time now to stick it back in there, and man, hopefully this is the last time it has to go together. All righto, at long last, and after many false starts, the TRS-80 Model 4 is back together again. And the new CRT is in place. Let's just go ahead and turn it on. Let the monitor warm up a bit. And it is looking really nice. Okay, let's boot up the game. Let's go ahead and run it off drive 2. Drive 1, I should say. 0 and 1. All right. And there you have it. So at long last, this thing is back together and working. Changing out that tube was a really fun experience. It was difficult. Had a lot of trouble just with things that I didn't expect to be trouble, especially like the ears not fitting onto the ears of my new tube, not fitting onto the spaces where those ears needed to go in the case. That really threw me for a loop. If it weren't for that, I would have had this thing back together long ago. And also the first tube that I tried, I know the tube was good. I don't know why it doesn't work in here. Ironically, that one had ears that would have fit just fine, and is a much newer tube. But this one, frankly, looks really good. I know it's a television class tube. It came out of a TV. That TV was new old stock. The tube says 1990 on it, so it's, it's only 35 years old. But it looks really nice. So yeah, this was a super fun project. Again, it took way longer than I thought it would. The rule of projects bit me where, at that time when you're putting it together and you're thinking, okay, it's going back together, it's all done. At that moment, you need to realize that it's going to come back apart like 5 more times in reality. But yeah, there you go. Glad it's working, really relieved, and hopefully you enjoyed watching. Hopefully there was some educational value to you. And yeah, I will catch you on the next one.